Oh, welcome to When the Smoke Clears. I am the Recovery Plug. What's happening, everybody? I hope you guys are doing great today. I know my day is going pretty good, man. How's it going? Well, I guess here we are, day 3 of the series on the book, The Cosmic Power Within You. Yes, this book right here. We're moving it right along, you know what I mean? And it's interesting book. I hope that you guys are enjoying it. And but before we get started on chapter 3, if you would please join me in a moment of silence, followed by the serenity prayer for the addict who still suffers and for those of us who are still in the struggle. So please, if you would, a moment of silence. God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, wisdom to know the difference. Alrighty, well, let's get started. Let me take these things off here and switch them out for these. We can't do anything without these things, right? But at any rate, I'm going to set this mic down right here. Hopefully you guys can still hear me. I'm sure you can. And today is going to be chapter 3. And this is titled, How to Become Aware of Your Cosmic Power. Okay, it starts off. One of the most profound and deepest seated longings of the heart is to gain a recognition of your true worth, to be respected, loved, and esteemed. Carlyle said, one of the godlike things of this world is the veneration done to human worth by the hearts of men. The psalmist reminds man and appreciate his true self with these majestic words of wisdom in Psalms 8:3-8. When I consider thy heavens, the work of thy finger, the moon and the stars, which thou hast ordained, what is man that thou art mindful of him, and the Son of Man that thou visitest him? For thou hast made him a little lower than the angels, and hast crowned him with the glory and honor. Thee madest him to have dominion over the works of thy hands, and thou hast put all things under his feet. All sheep and oxen, yea, and the beasts of the field, the fowl of the air, and the fish of the sea, and whatsoever passeth through the paths of the seas. Here David speaks eloquently and beautifully of the tremendous potentialities within man. And today we see man exploring space so successfully that in our time he will undoubtedly visit the moon and other planets. Today we are witnessing the workings of infinite intelligence through man in countless new discoveries. Scientists inform us that we are living in an age of light and supersonic speed, electronics and electricity, radio and radar. All of these miracles of the air, space, and sea come out of the mind of man. Recently, a mathematician said to me that only abstractions can be explained. The world and that events that transpire today on land, on sea, and in the air can be understood only by physics and mathematicians. Let me read that last piece there again. Recently, a mathematician said to me that only abstractions can explain the world, and that events that transpire today on land, on the sea, and in the air can be understood only by physicists and mathematicians. Goes on to say the powers within. Today, man is also penetrating and navigating the waters of his deeper mind and is gradually becoming aware of the kingdom of God within him. Research work at Duke University and other academic laboratories is revealing the powers of man's mind in such discoveries as telepathy, clairvoyance, clairaudience, telekinesis, extrasensory travel, and pre-recognition, retrocognition, and other marvelous powers of the mind. Let me stop right there, man. Isn't that crazy? How in this year when this book was written in 1968, but prior to 68, they were already, figuring things out, that you can get things and do things, and it all comes up through how a person thinks, right? But anyway, let's move on. Self-esteem gained through cosmic awareness. Recently, I received a letter from a woman in Arizona in which she said that her sister-in-law and mother-in-law disapproved of her and told her bluntly that they preferred her husband's former wife. They never invited her to their homes, but always asked her husband to visit them alone. Furthermore, although she tried her utmost to be nice to them, they criticized her meals, her home, her clothing, and her speech. This woman said that she felt inferior and rejected and asked me, why do they do this? What's wrong with me? I pointed out that she had been suffering unnecessarily and without real warrant, and that she had the power to refuse and to reject the poisonous statements of her in-laws, their rudeness and their incivility. I explained further to her that she did not create her mother-in-law or her sister-in-law, and that she was not responsible for their jealous, envious attitudes and complexes. I told her that to stop placing them on a pedestal and to stop being a doormat for them. That a doormat is something one walks on. I added that it was quite possible that her charm, gracious kindness, and wonderful character annoyed them, and that they probably got a sadistic satisfaction in disturbing her. I suggested that she break off the relationship with them and cease abscessing herself by toadying them. I told her that she needed an attitude of self-respect and self-esteem. I gave her following prayer to be used 3 times a day. It goes like this. I completely surrender my in-laws to God. God made them and He sustains them. I radiate love, peace, and goodwill to them, and I wish for them and all blessings of heaven. I am a child of God. God loves me and cares for me. When a negative thought of anger, fear, selfish criticism, self-condemnation, or resentment enter my mind, I immediately supplement it with the thought of God in the midst of me. I know I have complete dominion over my thoughts and emotions. I am a channel of the divine. I now redirect all my feelings and emotions along harmonious, constructive lines. Only God's ideas enter my mind, bringing me harmony, health, and peace wherever I am prone to deem or to denote myself. I will boldly affirm I exalt God in the midst of me. I am one with God, and one with God is a majority. If God be for me, who can be against me? She faithfully followed the above prayer and also carried out my other instructions. A few days ago, I received her story of answered prayers. Dear Dr. Murphy, thank you for your letter and the enclosed prayer. I phoned my in-laws and told them not to visit us at any time except when my husband and I issued a special invitation. I also told them that I sincerely wished them well, and I meant it. I see now where I made my mistake and how I was actually handicapping myself by thinking I was inferior to them. The prayer has worked wonders for me, and my husband said to me the other day, honey, you are beaming. What happened to you? I told him, both of us are so grateful. Signed, Mrs. L.M. This one's titled, Shyness and Timidity Overcome by Using the Cosmic Power. Some time ago, I had a consultation with a salesman who said that he was timid, shy, and resentful and looked upon the world as harsh and cruel. Actually, he was trying to escape from taking the rightful dominion over life. He said that his wife, his boss, and his associates did not appreciate him and that his children looked down on him. The cause of all of this was this young man had an inner sense of insecurity and inadequacy, and he was down on himself. He asked, how can I gain the appreciation of others? I found myself reminding him of this great scripture passage, love thy neighbor as thyself. Mark 12:33. The real meaning of this is that your neighbor is yourself, because the real self of you is God. Tennyson said, speak thou to him, for he hears, and spirit can meet. Closer he than breathing, the nearer than hands and feet. Another everyday meaning to the text is to love your neighbor as you love yourself. I explained to this young man the truth about himself and how to love and appreciate himself more along the following lines. If this man demotes, despises, and depreciates himself, he can't lift up or eat or give esteem, goodwill, and respect to others. For it is a cosmic law of mind that man is constantly projecting his thoughts, feelings, and beliefs onto others, and what he sends out comes back to him. Man is a son of the infinite, and all the qualities and powers of God are within him, waiting to be expressed. Man must love and honor the indwelling God. This next story goes, the true meaning of self-love. Love of self in the true biblical meaning is to honor, recognize, exalt, respect, and to give your total allegiance to the living spirit within you. This supreme intelligence made you, created you, animates, and sustains you. It is the life principle within you. This has nothing to do with egoism or self-aggrandizement, but that, on the contrary, is a wholesome veneration for the divinity which shapes your ends. The Bible says that your body is a temple of God, and therefore, as Paul says, you are to glorify God in your body. Also see 1 Corinthians 6:20. When you honor, respect, and love and self of you, you will automatically love, esteem, and honor others. This salesman listened carefully and avidly and then said to me, I never heard it explained that way before. I can see clearly what I have been doing. I have been down on myself, and I been full of prejudices, ill will, and bitterness. And what I have been sending out has reverberated back to me. I have gained a true insight into myself. The salesman practiced affirming the following truths with deep sincerity several times daily, knowing that they would sink down from his conscious to his subconscious mind like seeds come forth after their kind. And their prayer goes this way. I know that I can give only what I have. From this moment forward, I am going to have a wholesome, reverent, and deep respect for my real self, which is God. I am an expression of God, and God hath need of me where I am. Otherwise, I would not be here. From this moment forward, I honor, respect, and salute the divinity and all my associates and all people everywhere. I hold the self of every person in veneration and esteem. I am one with the infinite. I am a tremendous success, and I wish for all men what I wish for myself. I am at peace. The next story goes on to say, learn to love yourself. The above young man has transformed his life. He is no longer timid, shy, or resentful. He has gone ahead by leaps and bounds, and so can you. Learn to love your true self, and then you will learn to love and respect others. What thou seest man, that too come thou must. God, if thou seest God, dust, if thou seest dust. And that's just a quote by an anonymous poet. It goes, and let's look back at that, and it says, "What thou seest, man, thou that too becometh thou must." God, if thou seest God, dust; if thou see dust. In other words, it's saying to me. It's saying that whatever you're thinking and you see and project out into the world is a reflection of you. You know what I mean? Because ultimately that's what it's saying, is that it wants you to act and carry yourself and move your life in a manner that you're moving it in a sense that, how would you move it if you were doing something for the divinity, for God, for your higher power, whoever or whatever that may be. I mean, obviously you want it to be the best, you know what I mean? You want to be on your best at that point. And that's what it's saying. When you're at your best and you're treating people with the best you can, that's what you're going to brag. That is the law of attraction. That is how things are going to start coming into fruition for you, in that sort of sense, you know what I mean? So let's move on. It says, self-condemnation and annoyance overcome. Some months ago, I had a letter from a man who stated that he couldn't understand why everybody around him annoyed him. I asked him to come and see me, and in talking with him, I discovered that he was constantly rubbing others the wrong way. He did not like himself and was full of self-condemnation. He spoke in a very tense, irritable tone. His acridity of speech grated on one's nerves. He thought meaningly of himself and was highly critical of others. I explained to him that while his unhappy experiences seemed to be with other people, his relationship with them was determined by his thoughts and feelings about himself and them. I elaborated on the fact that if he despises himself, he cannot have goodwill and respect for others, because it is a law of the mind that he will always protecting his thoughts and his feelings onto his associates and all of those around him. He began to realize that as long as he projected feelings of prejudice, ill will, and contempt for others, that's exactly what he would get back, because his world is but an echo of his moods and attitudes. The next part is another story that says, practicing the golden rule. I gave him mental and spiritual formula which enabled him to overcome his irritation and arrogance. He decided to write consciously the following thoughts in his subconscious mind. And it goes on to say that he says, I practice the golden rule from now on, which means that I think, speak, and act towards others as I wish others to think, speak, and act toward me. I walk serenely on my way, and I am free, for I give freedom to all. I sincerely wish peace, prosperity, and success to all. I am always poised, serene, and calm. The peace of God floods my mind and my whole being. Others appreciate and respect me as I appreciate myself. Life is honoring me greatly, for it has provided for me abundantly. The petty things of life no longer irritate me. When fear, worry, doubt, or criticism by others knock at my door, faith in goodness, truth, and beauty opens the door of my mind, and there is no one there. The suggestions and statements of others have no power. The only power is my own thought. When I think God's thoughts, God's powers is with my thoughts of good. Goes on to say, he affirmed these truths morning, noon, and night, and he committed the whole prayer to memory. He poured into these words life, love, and meaning, and by osmosis, these ideas gradually penetrated the layers of his subconscious mind. His letters speak for itself. And the letter that he received goes like this. Dr. Murphy, may I first say thank you for all the calm and happy feelings I now possess. I know full and well what this brought what this is brought about by my new understandings of my mind and how it works. I know why I have a high opinion on myself and all human beings. I honor myself, and in doing so, I know I'm honoring God. I am learning how to specialize myself out of the law of averages. I am getting along fine and have received 2 promotions in the past 2 months. I now have the truth of this passage. If I be lifted up, will draw all men unto me. Gratefully, E.J. The letter above demonstrates how any man can overcome irritation and annoyance. This young man learned that trouble was within himself, and he decided to change his thoughts, feelings, and reactions. Any man can do the same. It takes decision to stick to its evenness, and a keen desire to transform oneself. Go and do thou likewise. Luke 10:37. The next story goes, look at the small end. An astronomer friend of mine said to me that for many years he had scanned the heavens, seeking the answers to the stories of creation and the riddle of the universe through the telescope, but that lately he has been looking within himself, who is inevitably at the small end of the telescope. He added that the small end of the telescope is the important end, for within man is God and the entire secret of creation and the mystery of the cosmos. When man learns about himself, he will have learned about the universe. Now it is time to analyze the analyzer. I'm trying to find happiness, peace, prosperity outside of himself. Man has neglected to look within himself to the infinite storehouse of riches with his subconscious mind. Where will you find poise, balance, peace, and happiness but in your own mind? Through your thoughts, feelings, and the sense of oneness with the eternal verities and spiritual values of life. William Shakespeare said, What a piece of work is a man. How noble in reason, how infinite in faculty, in form and moving, how express and admirable in action, how like an angel in apprehension, how like a god. The next story goes, how to get a higher estimate of yourself. It says, Ralph Waldo Emerson said, there is one mind common to all individual men, and every man is an inlet to the same, and all of the same. He also said, he who is admitted to the right of the reason is a free man of the whole estate. Begin to believe this. Realize that infinite intelligence, the guiding principles of the universe is within you, and the infinite healing presence of God controls all your vital organs and all the processes and functions of your body. You have the capacity to make choices, to use your imagination and all the other powers of God within you. Your mind is actually God's mind. When you consciously, decisively, and constructively use infinite wisdom within you, become a free man of the whole estate. Emerson inspires you to enlarge the concept of yourself when he announces this profound truth. What Plato has thought man may think, what a saint has felt he may feel, what at any time has fallen any man he can understand, who had access to the universal mind is a party to all that is or can be done, for this is the only and sovereign agent. Emerson was America's greatest philosopher and one of the greatest thinkers of all time. He was constantly in tune with the infinite, and he urged all men to release the infinite possibilities within them. Emerson taught the dignity and grandeur of man and pointed out to his listeners that the great appear great to us only because we are on our knees, that we attribute greatness to Plato and others because they acted upon what they themselves thought and not upon what other people believed and what others thought they should think. Begin to have a lofty, noble, and dignified concept of yourself, and remember what the psalmist said to all men: I have said, ye are gods, and all of you are children of the Most High. And that is Psalms 8:2-6. Okay. Next story goes, health improved with self-appraisal. The following letter speaks of itself, for itself. Dear Mr. Murphy, this is to thank you for writing The Miracle of the Mind Dynamics. I have read it over and over about 16 times, but more than that, I have applied it. I have stopped whining and complaining, and I am no longer bitter, angry, or hateful. My husband left me a year ago for a younger woman. I suffered from such intense rage that my doctor said the sudden precipitation of arthritis was caused by the emotional shock, anger, and hatred. Every day for the past 3 months, I have claimed bodily, as you suggested, that my body is a temple of the living God and that I glorify God in my body every day for the past several months. For about 15 minutes every morning, every afternoon, and evening, I affirmed that God's love permeated every atom of my being and his heavenly presence saturated my whole being. I also prayed for my ex-husband. There has been a remarkable change in my body. The edema, the excruciating pain have subsided. The suppleness and mobility of my joints have improved remarkably, and the calcareous deposits are gradually disappearing. My doctor is delighted, and so am I. I continue to realize that I am a child of God and that God loves me and cares for me. I know that this new self-appraisal has wrought wonders in my life. All hatred of my ex-husband has gone, and I am on the way to perfect health. Divine law and order govern me. I am eternally grateful for your writings, Mrs. W.M. Goes on to say, this woman discovered what the power of true appraisal of herself can do. She found that when she began to think of herself as the temple of wherein God dwells, and as he began to honor, exalt, and call upon his divine presence, it responded as the emotions of love, peace, confidence, joy, vitality, wholeness, and goodwill. As she began to love and respect herself, and she discovered that all hatred vanished and that all love rushed in to fill up the vacuum. Love is the fulfilling of the law of health, happiness, success, and prosperity. Goes on to say, formula for business success. A prominent businessman in Los Angeles told me that the secret of his success and prosperity is that he learned a great truth which he demonstrates daily. This is his formula. And it goes on to say, I know that the God in the other is the same God in me. And therefore, if I hurt the other, I would be hurting myself. And that would be foolish. Knowing that I practice the greatest formula of all, I bless and exalt the good in the other. I make it a point to advance his interests, and I know as I do, I am advancing my own. I know that the ship which comes home to my brother comes home to me. Practice the above formula and you will like yourself more. You will see sermons in stone, tongues in trees, songs in running brooks, and God in everything, including your fellow man. Man, so there you go. That's the end of chapter 3. And that was a really good chapter. You know what I mean? I really enjoyed that. I hope that you enjoyed it too. And just to kind of go over the chapter itself is, man, I take it as from all those stories in chapter 3 is like, it's like, wow, you know what I mean? The title to chapter 3 says, How to Become Aware of Your Cosmic Power. And by reading all those stories of all those people who experience that cosmic power is just, you know, to me is what I gather from it is that the things that you allow to affect you, the things that you allow into your mind, the things that you think, the things that you say, how you present yourself, the words that come out of your mouth, all of those things has an effect on how your day is going to go. It has an effect on how the roadmap of your life is going to be. You know what I mean? And the great thing is, from what I understand there, is that we can rewrite our map of life at any time. You know what I mean? If you want your day to go good, if you want your day to be full of positivity, well then guess what? That's exactly what you have to do. If you start feeling positive, if you start saying positive things, if you start, doing things in a positive way, there's only one thing that's going to come back to you, and that's going to be positive things. You know what I mean? That is the law of the divinity attraction of the universe, of how it works. You know what I mean? All of these stories doesn't say that, oh, I chanted all these prayers and I started thinking this way in a positive and spiritual sense, and I wound up worse than when I started. No, it doesn't say that. It says that when they started changing their mentality in a spiritual and positive way, and looked and did and said everything they did in their day as if they were doing it for the divine, for humanity, for God, and that sort of thing, that it started transforming their lives in months, and some of them even days. You know what I mean? How amazing is that here they're giving you true stories of people that has overcome adversities and mental and physical situations, and in months they're this whole 360 transformation of a person in a spiritual and positive sense. And I just think that that's amazing. You know what I mean? And I to be honest with you, I can relate because I've done things like that. You know what I mean? I've done things like that. Like when I decided that I'm going to do these types of things on a positive basis in a spiritual sense every single morning as soon as I get up, well then guess what happens, man? Everything that comes in my life as my day goes through the day, it's always a positive. I'm always in this positive spiritual sense. People come and I run into people, and then we have these beautiful conversations, and hardly has it ever been a negative thing in the last year and a half, man. It's just been, I'm just amazed, you know what I mean, at how that has really transformed, you know what I mean? And I'm a firm believer in that, and because I know to be true, because it's happening in my life. And if you just start doing what's in that chapter 3, man, I tell you what, you could probably be in that same boat. And I believe that. I believe that you can, and I believe that you can do it just like me. We both have the power to do that. How amazing is that? You know what I mean? But I guess that's going to be it for today with chapter 3 of the Cosmic Power Within You. And we'll hit it chapter 4 tomorrow and see, what other kind of stories that they give us. Some more nuggets, if you will. You know what I mean? For me, this is great because, I have what I call my recovery arsenal. And my recovery arsenal consists of little bits and nuggets that I get out of different people's stories, you know what I mean? And I apply them into my own recovery, and that's how my journey has been, you know what I mean? So, to me, this is just great. This is just golden nuggets all the way, man. So, but at any rate, so at this time, man, if you would please give me a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, share my channel. I'd greatly appreciate it. Just know that when you do that, you will help out another veteran. You'll be helping out another homeless person, another person dealing with PTSDs, another person dealing with childhood traumatic experiences, another person dealing with anger, suicidal thoughts, depression, and sadness, because my friends, have dealt with all those types of issues, and I know that you can. And there's a way to get out of all that stuff, and a way to move your life in a positive and spiritual sense. So please share the channel. I greatly appreciate it. I guess until the next time on When the Smoke Clears, I am the Recovery Plug.